Billionaire Ron Barron came out big for Elon Musk and Tesla. Barron Capital holds 13 million Tesla shares, valued at about $6 billion, and he just posted a note saying he is in full support of the proposed CEO Performance Award. He explains his reasons in detail. Dan Ives of Wedbush says he sees a bright green light for Musk's $1 trillion pay plan. He's sticking to a $600 price target and says this vote will be the defining moment that shifts Tesla into an AI juggernaut. On the other hand, Morgan Stanley warns that Tesla stock needs this pay plan to be approved. They forecast the stock will fall more than 10% if it fails. Betting site Kalshi is showing a 92% chance of approval right now. Norway's sovereign wealth fund, however, just now announced they will vote no. They own 1% of Tesla stock. But the Tesla retail community is strong, and right now a major movement is happening with investors bailing on Charles Schwab, as that brokerage firm has been voting against Tesla's board. Even Elon himself said this is noted. Is this Thursday a do-or-die moment for Tesla? We've got Joe Bagdy here with us today. He's an economist, tech entrepreneur. He has a YouTube channel covering both Tesla and AGI. Check out his website and community at pioneerlands.net. Welcome, Joe.
Good to be here, Herbert.
Let's go. This is it. Stock is gyrating, rising, falling. But, we're about to hit major inflection points. This is the Thursday vote that's going to happen. So I want to talk to you about how important this vote is to Tesla stock. And now here we're learning more things. People are coming out. Of course, we're going to have most of the large big whale investors vote the last day prior to the actual vote on Thursday. Barron Capital, though, Ron Barron, they're a big deal. They just came out with their note. As expected, they fully support Elon's 2025 CEO Performance Award. He says, we believe it reflects the same principles of accountability, performance, and alignment with shareholder interests that drove Tesla's past success. This plan ensures shareholders win first, of course. Now, they own $6 billion worth of Tesla, about 13 million shares. And Elon is the ultimate key man of key man risk. Without his relentless drive and uncompromising standards, there would be no Tesla. He has built one of the most important companies in the world. He's redefining transportation, energy, human or robots, and creating lasting value for shareholders while doing it. So they will be voting for this. How big of a deal is Ron Barron, or is it built in? Because everybody already knew that they were going to be voting in support.
Well, first of all, obviously, anyone who owns Tesla shares themselves, including any fund manager who owns them and has direct exposure to Tesla share performance, will vote yes, right? Because it's the biggest no-brainer on earth that whoever votes against that will see the stock drop if it wouldn't go through. I think 10% is very conservative. I think would drop 20, 30% potentially if Elon would leave Tesla, obviously. And if this vote doesn't go through, then we have a major problem, because Elon already made this very clear. This next phase of Tesla, sustainable abundance, robot armies, autonomous transport, and many new things we didn't even really talk about yet, can only happen if you have an entrepreneur at the helm, which is Elon, and Elon wants to be compensated for that, mostly because he needs this 25% share vote to have some resemblance of control over Tesla. Okay, that's the big picture. So for us as shareholders, now the question is, first of all, why would anyone vote against that? The answer is very simple. A lot of large fund managers have zero personal exposure to Tesla, right? You can manage millions of Tesla shares and have zero interest in seeing the share go up and have nothing against it going down, which is a governance issue, in my opinion. That is true for sovereign wealth funds. That's true for pension funds. It's true for index funds. Right? You're sitting on top of these funds, say, I don't care if my fund goes down or up. It's not my job, they think, which is horrible, by the way. And so these are the people who potentially vote against it. And they're following the recommendations of Glass, Lewis, and ISS, which are, what did Elon call them? Corporate terrorists. I agree. I think these people are completely crazy and dangerous. And of course, completely outside any kind of accountability and governance. And they made horrible recommendations, not just for Tesla. And they are under investigation by a lot of attorney generals in the United States for violating all kinds of stuff. So bad actors. But what does it mean for us? I think the odds that this goes through are roughly 99.98%. That's what I posted today. I lowered it by 0.1% after Norway. So I think Norway is very understandable, by the way. We have to understand, if you're the head of the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund, 1.8 trillion or something, you're basically a politician. you're managing the people's money of Norway. Norway is a pretty little socialist country in a Nordic sense. I'm not even against that if you live in the Nordics, because it's very different societies. But for the average Norwegian, it might be a little hard to digest that someone makes $1 trillion and they don't have the full context. They're not like active Tesla investors, they're just citizens. And so if you're the head of the wealth fund, they are pretty reasonable people. I think they understand it. I think they would like to vote for it, but they say, I'm not going to vote for this and then be on TV and be questioned by the entire country. Why do I approve $1 trillion in compensation? So they just say, whatever. It's less than 1% of Tesla owned by the Norwegians. They say we vote against it, so we don't have to explain ourselves. They made very nice comments, by the way. It's like, oh, we are working with Tesla and whatever, but they just want to vote against it. Doesn't make any difference.
We'll cover that. Yeah.
We'll
cover
make
Norway later.
And I was asked by my followers, are you hedging, Joe? Are you buying puts? And I'm still undecided, but right now I would say no. I think it would be super bad if this doesn't go through. We definitely are screwed. But I think the odds are so marginal, infinitesimal, much lower than last time, because I think everyone will vote along the same lines as last time. We had 73% or something pro. You need 50%. That was last year. Now we have Elon coming on top of it with 15% or something. Alexandra just told me. And yeah, so it's like, I don't see any way this doesn't go through. And then the last interview marathon of Elon last Friday, was another confirmation for me. Elon was so relaxed and so cool, and he knows what the vote is, I guess. So I think we have all kinds of signs plus probabilistic triangulation that we do not have to be concerned. I don't want to jinx it, but that's just what it looks like.
Definitely on board with you there. Yeah, your point about the, these big whale managers, money managers, and then they're doing it for political reasons. You know what would be really better would be if somebody on the no side actually laid out the actual arguments against why this is not right. Instead of philosophically saying, I don't believe a CEO should be awarded that much money because it's performance-based. So that's mute. Or they don't give a line, very, very clear why Tesla would succeed and be bigger of a company and grow better without Elon being given that performance award or without Elon.
Well, I think, Garrett, the most important insight I just recently had, I always knew it a little bit, but recently it was just crystal clear. When we look at these things and people make decisions, I don't want to go into politics, but it's very similar in politics too, and voting. Then you think, look, I thought this all through. I have my thesis. We can't do X. We have to do Y, and here's why. And then they explain it afterwards. Comes along, right? And some other person's like, no, Herbert, you're wrong. I'm doing X. Right? And then you think, oh, we have a dissent. We have different opinions. This guy thought about something. I thought about something. Let's sit down and have a discussion. And what you see so often in voting is they don't want to have a discussion because you thought about it and they did not think about it. And there's a reason for that, especially outside politics here. They just don't care. Because if they do something stupid and the stock drops, why would they care? Because they actually don't own the stock. They just operate the fund. Whereas for you, it's like, that's very bad. I don't want the stock to drop 50%. I would lose a lot of money. So it's an incentive problem. If you would take their net worth, put it all into Tesla, they would not vote no. They would say, oops, I changed my opinion now because I would lose money. So we have to understand there's a disconnect between fund managers and people who own Tesla. That's not the same thing.
Yeah. This is what Ron Barron is saying here. So Musk entities to Ron Barron, right, is 26% of his firm's $44 billion assets under management. And he thinks Barron Capital is forecasting to earn at least 5 times the profits we have generated to date from the Musk ecosystem by 2035. If we are right, the beneficiaries of this success will be the estimated 1 million plus working class and mass affluent Barron Mutual Fund shareholders. So they're really invested and they really make a big deal. So that's Barron. That's great.
And you can be, by the way, Herbert, what I just said, you see it with Ron Barron or Kathy Woods. These people make money if they make money with Tesla, right? I guarantee you there is not a single person on earth who had any significant exposure to Tesla and who votes no. Whoever votes no has no exposure personally.
Okay, so
which is really bad when you think about it. Just think about it.
Dan Ives, of course, Wedbush Securities, he's maintaining his $600 price target, and he's calling this vote a defining moment as Tesla shifts into an AI juggernaut. He sees a bright green light, just like you. You're 99.8% success. The board says keeping Musk locked in is critical with Tesla entering its most important growth chapter yet. So you and I, of course, talked about this. This is what's going to shift Tesla into an AI juggernaut.
Well, it also I think it's incredibly important, and we can get into that maybe later in the video, in the session here, because it truly is the next big strategic phase for Tesla, and it seals the deal that we officially kick off that phase with full focus on sustainable abundance instead of sustainable transport. And this is the final little step. And you see that Elon is already over it. He already understands it's going to happen. So he is focusing on all these crazy things now. And you see it's kind of a liberation in his brain. He's starting to talk about all kinds of new things suddenly, which I think is the ultimate indicator that he's now fully on board.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, this weekend, we'll cover that in the show tomorrow. He's talking about lunar base. He's talking about AI data centers, or orbiting this, in this space. Flying cars. The future is massive in his mind, and there's a lot more to do. But that's because autonomy is solved. Robots, he's been spending weeks there. He feels that there's a path there for that to grow big, which he will need in order to go do these things. We'll cover that in a show tomorrow. So, you're at 99.8% chance that the vote will succeed. Kalshi, the betting site, and they're pretty accurate apparently, according to their stats. JP Morgan, they're saying that there's a 92% chance it is approved by shareholders. And so that's people on one side betting and the other side betting that it's going to fail. That's the wisdom of the crowd. But Morgan Stanley's warning that if the Tesla stock needs Elon Musk's $1 trillion pay plan, Tesla shareholders are about to vote on a massive new comp plan package. And Morgan Stanley says if it fails, the stock could drop more than 10%. Now, they said more than, but boy, 10% seems a little low. I think it's going to be a lot more than that. While critics speak against the proposed plan, it's actually just a high-stakes performance-based deal. That's what we've been saying, where Elon only gets rewarded if Tesla hits insanely ambitious targets. Yeah, what's your thinking about what would happen to the stock if there was a no vote? Everybody's shocked, right? So anytime there's a shock like that, like nobody's expecting it, 92%, you're 99%, stock's not going to fall just 10%. What do you think?
It's going to be bad. I think short term would probably drop more than 10%, at below 400 probably would be a disaster. And midterm, it would be an even bigger disaster. Because this is not a buy the dip situation. This is a sell the dip situation. Because if this fails and Elon leaves, we are screwed. We are strategically screwed. And once we are strategically screwed, the stock can go to 100 or whatever, right? And I mean, then it's just game over, because Elon would say, well, no Optimus, like robotaxis. Once you don't have Elon behind that, you have a problem. You can go into it if you want why I think that, but it's my pioneer theory, right? Elon is very smart. He has a proven track record, but it's also the general setup of companies. You need a super brain on top that has a pioneer spirit, which is not just Elon. It's also some other great, it's like Jensen Huang. It's like other great people who have the master plan for their thing in their mind and are so dedicated and obsessed that they're executing the master plan across all dimensions of the business continuously 24/7. With a very strong vision that is also true. There are not too many people like that. You can't just hire someone like that. And so if that person is gone, you turn the company into a corporate zombie. It's like Procter & Gamble for cars. And I'm not going to invest in Procter & Gamble for EVs. It's bad.
Yeah, so Elon has repeated, and he just did it this weekend, right? He will not build a robot army if he's not get his 25% voting control. And that's what he's continuing to refer to, not the $1 trillion pay plan, it's the voting control. So if he doesn't get it, what would happen? I don't want to spend too much time on this negative concept, but let's just play it out, because I saw somebody say, if he doesn't get it, he's going to take everything, including Optimus. And I'm like, whoa, how is he going to take Optimus? I don't think he can take Optimus, but what he can do, like he did with the AI, XAI, which he owns fully, pretty well over 50+% for sure, It's just like XAI. Oh, I can start a company and within 2 years, I've basically caught up. And so he'll go, we'll create a bot company there. And then he'll probably, obviously with all his knowledge, he might even take a lot of the engineers, come follow him clearly, or he'll hire others. And then, but the problem with XAI is they do not have the manufacturing capability. Now, this is Elon. He can probably stand up a factory, and I would trust he can do this. But you know what I mean? Like that's maybe what he would do. What do you think?
He would definitely need to step down from Tesla so he's free to operate. Yeah. He would have to do it in a way that doesn't threaten his shares too much, right? Because he still has a lot of shares. So he needs to thread the needle a little bit, but you know, I can guarantee you, in his mind, he would say, okay, fine, we need an exit plan. How do I get robots outside Tesla? How do I put AGI outside Tesla? Maybe even self-driving, because now it's like a whole situation. And so I think the most important things, I can't even predict what the exact tactical plan of Elon would be. First of all, it's like not worth our brain power because it costs me.
We don't have to spend too much time on this. Yeah.
But he would say, okay, we need an exit plan. He wouldn't do anything abrupt, in my opinion, but it would be very serious. He would say, okay, in 24 months, I'm out of here. And I'm preparing now everything so it's as clean as possible. And the robots will definitely not happen in Tesla. And that would not be great.
I mean, some people are saying that that will not happen despite him losing because he owns so much of Tesla, 50% worth of Tesla.
No, but that's dumb people thinking. Tesla is worth, what, 450 right now? So it's completely not priced in robots. So who cares? You know, he can just take it outside.
His stock would fall 50%, and that amount is massive to him, $100 billion or whatever it might be worth for him.
Yeah, but if I run my model, right, and I think Tesla is going to go to 7,000 by 2030. I've lowered it a little bit because of Robotaxi CapEx. It's a different detail, but it's at 7,000. But most of that 7,000, over 50% is Optimus, even then. Mm-hmm. And so you do the math. If it's 450 now, it's 7,000 in 5 years. Half of that is Optimus. He makes way more money doing Optimus outside and owning 50 or 70%, like way more money. So
because he owns so much of it. Gotcha.
It's a giant pain in the butt. It's not ideal for him. So he would definitely prefer owning 25% of Tesla and then doing it in Tesla because it's just, time is of the essence. If that happens, it means a massive pain in the butt for Elon to rebuild this whole thing. So he would he rather has less and save 2-3 years and stay in Tesla. So it's fine to have 25% instead of 75% because that's worth it because you have limited time in your life. But if he would have 12% or something, then it's like, okay, fine. And he sees the writing on the wall. If that's another thing. It's not just about greed. It's about if he doesn't get that vote through, how sure can he be that he gets fired when it comes down to it? And it's about power and robot armies. He can be guaranteed if he can't even get his compensation. What do you think happens when the real thing happens, right? When people say we need to take over Tesla.
Or worse yet, some sort of like corporate takeover. Some big giant fund says, I'm going to take over, this company, and they just buy them out.
Like BlackRock.
BlackRock says, we're going to take over now. So, okay. So that 99.8% chance it's not going to fail, according to you. And I agree with you. It's going to be highly high.
Important, Herbert. Like, Elon is smart, in case someone didn't notice yet. But Elon is smart, and he can think out of the box. And we are in the age of AGI. And these central pillars of the age of AGI, economic pillars, like Tesla, like NVIDIA, and so on and so forth, they are not companies anymore. They are something else. And they're crossing the line into sovereign governments, into BlackRock territory where it's about power, right? And the rules of power are different than the rules of capitalism. They're related, but they're different because now you're dealing with people who have basically infinite money or looped money or whatever you call it, like BlackRock and other people. And it's not just about money anymore. It's about who controls the robots, who controls the countries, who controls AGI. Yeah. And then you have to prepare yourself for that. And that's why this is about votes, not about money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the economy, right? He just said you need robots to control the economy. This is the economy. This isn't just a company making a bit of money. Okay, so the 99% chance they're going to succeed. Kalshi says 92%. And the reason is, just to remind everybody, that in Texas, the vote, you only need 50% plus one vote of the casted shares. That's what it is. And there's a lot of misinformation out there of the casted shares. Elon and Kimball have around 15% already of the casted
0.5.
shares.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you want to add the retail, you want to add Ron Barron and others. And then you just look at his behavior in the weekend, which makes it look like that he's not going to be spending five the weekend if he
4.5
thinks that
hours.
5 hours on a in a very good mood. And so let's hope. But yes, I think that we are both on now. Just very clearly, Norway. We did talk about it earlier today. They are going to vote against Tesla's pay plan. They own 1.1% of Tesla. And I think you explained it really well of why they're doing this. The thing is, though, that Norway, that's like 90+% of cars there, and the new car sales are EVs and they're Teslas. So it's kind of, so you explained it why you think that's the case.
It's very important for people to always understand when you think in first principles. I don't want to be the first principle guy again, but that's what we learn in Pioneer Lands, to assess reality accurately. Right? Don't just sit there like, they're so dumb. The Norwegians are so dumb. Everything is complicated. Like, why? You have to put yourself into the shoes of these decision makers, right? And you can assume they're dumb. You can assume they're smart. Whatever they are, they're actually smart. I know some, not personally, but I know. If you're Norway, it's a very different society. There are 4 million people or 5 million people. They're all like smart little Norwegians and they do their little thing. There's a high trust society. So they are much more socialist by default. Not in a bad way, but in a Nordic way. It's like, well, I like my neighbor. We are all like the same. We take care of each other. What's your problem? What do you want? And so for them, it's very hard to understand, why do you need $1 trillion? What about robot armies? Like, why is this even a thing? So for them, it's like they like Elon, they like Teslas, but $1 trillion. Most Norwegians are going to ask, what's happening here? Like, why? Because for them, it's hard to understand why that would be needed. And so if you're a boss of that fund, you are like a politician. You think like, well, I know what I would do. I would vote yes. But if I vote yes, I need to go on TV and get stupid questions all day long. It's not worth it, because if I vote no, there's no impact. It's still a yes, right? Because they're signaled also in what they said that they're very friendly and supportive of Elon, which is interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I think that does make the most sense. Okay. So the next topic here is Charles Schwab. Is a brokerage firm many Tesla investors are using. And they have been voting against Tesla's board for every time Elon found out. And so this started off with, of course, Alexandra. I've done a lot of these videos with her explaining exactly what was going on with State Street and the ETFs, the whole thing about the ETFs, that they've handed off their voting to Glass Lewis. And these guys, these guys are not voting in favor of Tesla. So a lot of Tesla investors, though, are now bailing on Charles Schwab. There's a movement that started happening and, did not support Elon's new comp plan. And so, for example, Kevin Chow, Schwab is now finding out, won't be long. He's moved out his money. Jason DeBolt asked the question, can we verify that Charles Schwab has been voting against? And then he did find out that they have been. These 6 ETFs represent about 7 million Tesla shares, all voting against, because Schwab ETFs follow Glass Lewis recommendations. These are the Schwab ETFs. So if you own any of this, if you put your money on Schwab, move it out of there. Move it to another brokerage firm so that you can
also
make sure
like,
that,
by the way, first of all, of course, yes, move out of this. This is like a Dilbert situation, right? So it's different from the Norwegians. The Norwegians understand what's going on, but they don't want to have the political exposure. These people are Dilbert universe. So Dilbert meaning they just don't care. No one is in charge, and they're corporate people with stamps. Like, I just stamped this, I don't care. You make them care by imposing costs, like real economic costs, which is that. And also the excuse, if any, the excuse normally is like, oh, we don't have time for this, and we just vote along these things. We can't just like think about these things. But when you look at BlackRock and Vanguard, which are much higher quality than Charles Schwab, I think, in their ETF management, they pivoted, right? They introduced, maybe because of Tesla, but also because of the general pushback against ESG, which is Glass Lewis, right? So Glass Lewis and ISS are basically the executioner of the mind virus. And so there's huge pushback from the Trump administration and from a lot of states, and as I said, investigations and criminal stuff against them. And so Vanguard and BlackRock, they introduced now a system that allows you to actually vote on how your ETFs with Vanguard treat this. And they have the option vote with the proxies, vote with the board, or something else, or vote with some other. So they basically are smart. They say, well, we don't care. Maybe some people want the proxies, maybe some people don't, but you have the choice. You can say vote along board recommendations for all the ETF stocks, or always proxy, or always something else. And I think that shows it's possible. It's already implemented, BlackRock and Vanguard. What's your problem, Charles Schwab? Like, you clearly are behind in a very bad way that hurts everyone.
Yeah. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully it is just a, mismanagement or just not following through. Maybe they will, though, because apparently, well, hopefully this is true, but some people have called Charles Schwab and they're actually saying to them, yeah, we've been getting a lot of phone calls. So that's how it starts. Hopefully it's enough. Maybe it's not just, anecdotal, that then it makes us up to the top. Lots of money are flowing out. Then they go, okay, we better do something. But maybe it might be already too late too. But Elon said, this is noted. So I don't know what that means. He now knows that Charles Schwab's doing this. Somebody was asking, the question is Tesla's employee compensation plan using Charles Schwab? And I think the answer is no, they're not. So I think NVIDIA's stock plan does. So not Tesla. So
we have to understand that's also why of course, I'm biased, right? Because I think it was the right thing to do. Elon getting political, but I think we have to understand he's not a dummy who randomly decides I'm supporting Trump and stuff like that. It's the age of AGI. This becomes all much more political for the reasons we explained, and this is not a narrow SB thing, right? This is all connected. Charles Schwab has political exposure. They need states to do certain things. They need the government to be nice to them, the SEC, all kinds of people. Once they basically declare war without even knowing they did, because they're badly managed on Elon, it's not just about, some of we lose customers. It could be way worse. What if it comes down to an SEC decision or something about Charles Schwab and Elon noted it and says, dudes, finish them, right? So exactly that's going to happen. And I think that's just called accountability, finally. It's good that, you can't play by these rules if the rules are bad. I'm not talking about the government rules. I'm talking about these weird proxy, whatever, these unwritten rules. And so it's good that we disrupt that as Tesla shareholders. It's good that Elon stands up against it. I'm always for, a little action. So people have to rethink what they're doing and are not passive little, reactionary things that stand there and just do stuff. No one knows anything, right? They need to get punished, and not just punished on, I'm pulling out of Charles Schwab and go somewhere else. That's good. You should do that, but it could be much more severe.
I think the general thing that's been made to light here is that it should be illegal for any organization to vote on behalf of shareholders when they have no skin in the game, when they don't even own the shares, by the way.
Well, and if the shareholders say actively, we don't want that, right? That's the scandal here. Yeah. That you are voting my shares. You vote my Tesla shares against my instructions. That's like, what's even happening? That's very bad.
Yeah, because what's going to happen in this case, and very clearly in this case, if you vote against the Tesla board, you're basically voting for the company to die, and that's your share, so you should care. So companies like Charles Schwab should give shareholders the right. They have the right to do that. Not they would try to make it easy for themselves, and they just outsource it to Glass Lewis and let them decide. It is so crazy.
It's insane because Glass Lewis has zero skin in that game and a lot of skin in a completely different game that is against us. So it's like crazy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate your comments there. So we'll watch out what happens on Thursday. But Joe is 99.8% likely, and he lowered it because of the Norway by 0.001. All right, Joe. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. But your probabilities and forecasts, that's what you do in your day-to-day job. Thank you so much for that. Follow Joe. Check out his pioneerlands.net. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.